Let me ask you something. Is it normal to seek out painful experiences? Well, no, obviously, we usually try to avoid those painful experiences, or at least minimize how many we end up having to deal with. However, I have been reading a lot of books lately that have been painful. So why am I putting myself through this? Let me give you some context. In college, I started taking psychology classes for fun, and I was particularly fascinated by Philip Zimbardo, who is a psychologist who was famous or infamous for running the Stanford prison experiment. While I was studying his experiments, I had heard that he had also written a book, and it was called The Lucifer Effect: Understanding How Good People Turn Evil. Since I was interested in what he might have to say, I decided I was going to attempt to read this book. And honestly, I didn't get very far at all, because it starts out describing some of the most horrific and despicable acts that I've certainly ever heard of. And it was extremely painful for me to read. And so that's why I decided I was going to put the book down. I didn't need all of that at the time, and so I haven't actually returned to it yet. Later, however, as I was still trying to understand him and what he had to say, I realized that there was a puzzling discovery that I made about his attitude. It actually was a lot more positive and hopeful than I certainly expected it to be. A year or so after I had attempted to read his book, I found a few YouTube videos. I remember being struck by his definition of a hero. Now, I can't give you the direct quote because I'm not sure exactly where to find it, but I do recall the gist of it, as far as I understood it, was that a hero really is just somebody who does something that anybody could do, but what not everybody would do. So, in essence, it doesn't come down to our strength or our courage or daring per se. That's not necessarily about those things. It's more about acting when everyone else is inactive. I was surprised that this idea of heroism had actually become the focus of Zimbardo's work for quite a few years now. And especially surprised that that's what he would gravitate to after being the man who had headed such a disturbing experiment and who had written this book about how good people turn evil. I was expecting a man who had a jaded, pessimistic view or outlook of people and our potential. But I was very wrong. That's when I started to realize that there is some serious potential value in our education, in studying these things, and in gaining new perspective from people who aren't like me. If Zimbardo could come to the conclusion that we have it in us to do something heroic and wonderful and truly good, despite the potential for the same potential that we have to do horrible, terrible things to each other, if that's possible for somebody who's seen that dark side of humans, maybe there's some more things that I can and need to learn from the strange group of family members that we call the human race. I had always been taught that I need to avoid books and perspectives that can damage and challenge my beliefs, and I still am very wary to protect myself psychologically and spiritually. I avoid books that are intentionally demeaning or that are crude, uninformed, or hurtful. I don't think we have any obligation to seek out those perspectives, especially ones that are intended to destroy our faith and to destroy our spirit. And especially, we should avoid these things if we're just doing it to appear open-minded. I think that's the wrong way of approaching this. However, I also believe that if you are truly comfortable with your beliefs and with your faith, that you shouldn't need to be afraid of listening to and empathizing with other people and their experiences. In fact, I think it is necessary to gain that empathy and to practice that empathy. And honestly, one of the safest ways that I can think of to practice this is through reading books. And I say safe because with a book, it is very safe. You have time and you have space for yourself to absorb what you're reading, to react to it, to process it, analyze it, and you even have the chance to put it down for a moment if it's triggering, if it's starting to be harmful to you in a way that's more destructive and not a way that's like a good critique is. There is value to being hurt in some ways, but if it's starting to damage you, then you can put it down. That's the great thing about a book, is that it's not going to obligate you to read it, and you have no obligation to come back to it if it's a harmful book. But it also gives you that time and space to come back to it when you're ready to take on and see if there's any more value that you believe it still contains for you. So this is why I choose to find books, seek out books that challenge my perspectives and my worldviews. I believe that absolutely everyone has potential to do great harm and do evil, horrible things. But I especially believe that everybody has the potential to do amazing, wonderful, truly good, helpful things. And I've noticed that sometimes the pain and the hurt that we feel drives us to hurt others. But as I have felt and experienced with my own pain, that if I take the chance to sit with somebody else in their own pain, we're both healed. So why do I seek out painful experiences? I'm looking for empathy. I want to receive it. I want to build it in myself. I want to share it. I want to give it. I want empathy to be pervasive in my life, in my relationships, and I want this to be a give and take thing. I want everybody to be able to feel this, because it really does help and heal. Now, I can't speak for everyone's perspectives, but from the perspective of the United States, we're in a lot of pain right now. There are a lot of people that are hurting for a lot of different reasons. And what that really means is that I have the opportunity and the duty, honestly, to listen and understand. It's time for me to sit with my people in their pain. And maybe it's through empathy that we're going to start healing our wounds. Now, it's February, which means it's Black History Month. And I cannot think of a better way to honor the past than by engaging in our present. We need to understand better than ever before what it is that our Black friends, neighbors, family members are dealing with. We need to know where they're coming from and where they're hurting and where we can help. So that's why on this channel, we're going to start our book club off with reading So You Want to Talk About Race by Ijeoma Oluo. We'll be discussing this book in a couple of weeks, so the challenge for this video for you is to grab a copy of this book, go listen to it or go read it, and come back and keep an eye out for that video where we'll be discussing the book. And in the meantime, stay safe, take care of yourselves, and look out for others. We'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching.